Mr. Hernandez is present in court, represented by attorneys Jose Valle, George Leontire, Linda Kenny-Bodden, and Michelle Medina. The Commonwealth is present, represented by Assistant District Attorneys Patrick Hagan, Mark Lee, and Teresa Anderson. Good morning, Your Honor. All members of our jury are present.
Good morning, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I've already said good morning to counsel. We were dealing with some issues before you arrived, and thank you for your patience. We have a full complement of attorneys back with us. Everyone is on the mend, and we are proceeding. But let me inquire of you folks whether you are all healthy. Yes? Yes. Very good. Let me inquire, since you left on Thursday, whether any juror has discussed this case, has read, heard, or seen anything about the case outside of court, or had any contact with the case outside of court. If you have, would you raise your hand? And seeing no hands raised, I find our jury remains indifferent, and we resume the evidence this morning, turning to the Commonwealth for its next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Commonwealth calls Jeffrey London.
Sir, do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give this court and jury in the issue now pending between the Commonwealth and the defendant at the bar shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you, sir. Why don't you step out of the seat?
Mr. Hagan. Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Would you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Jeff London, L-O-N-D-O-N.
How old are you, Mr. London?
I'm 37.
How are you currently employed?
I'm currently employed by 617 Productions and also Pasha Entertainment, which is the 617 is the promotional company that I run, the marketing company, and Pasha runs the nightclubs, some of the nightclubs that we work at.
How long have you worked for Pasha?
Around 10 years or so.
What nightclubs does Pasha run, sir?
Care Lounge, was now Icon, and Venue.
Calling your attention back now to 2012. Were you still working for Pasha at that time?
Yes.
How long had you been working in some capacity in clubs at that time?
I started working clubs probably 03 or 04.
So more than 10 years?
Yes.
And calling your attention now to the clubs that you indicated were run by Pasha. In 2012, which clubs exactly did Pasha own at that point?
At that point, it was Venue, formerly known as Rumor, and Care Lounge.
What about a club named District?
District as well, District, yes.
And in case the jurors are unfamiliar, where are Club Rumor, Club Venue, and Club District in relation to Club Cure?
District's a little bit further away in the Leather District, where Rumor and Venue are in the Theater District, adjacent to each other, right next to each other. Yeah.
And as of 2012 into 2013, Mr. London, what was your exact duty or responsibility relative to Pasha Entertainment and the nightclubs?
I was the VIP host.
Would you describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury and the court what a VIP host is and what your responsibilities were or duties?
Sure. So, being a VIP host, we take care of various VIPs. There's bottle service tables or different VIPs that come into the club that we treat a little different than the regular customer, such as celebrities, athletes, actors, people that frequent the club a lot that like to spend a lot of money. So I take care of them. My role is to take care of the VIPs that come into the club.
And I think you've mentioned one way that you might take care of. You mentioned something about bottle service. What other ways would you take care of the celebrities or VIPs?
Sure. So different ways. So in a nightclub that's very busy, like these clubs are, people waiting in line. So if I see a VIP or something, I grab them from the line, walk them right in to the club. They don't have to pay the cover charge. I waive the cover charge and walk them through into the club.
Would a judge qualify as a VIP?
Yes, sir.
Mr. London, I'm going to call your attention now. Sometime around 2009, 2010, did you meet an individual by the name of Aaron Hernandez?
Yes, I did.
Do you know about when it was and what the circumstances were in which you met Aaron Hernandez?
I'm not sure if it was a referral from one of the other Patriots players, but I met him. It was at district. He'd just been drafted right after the draft. The season hasn't started. I don't know if training camp had just started or he was visiting.
So that'd be 2010, correct?
Correct.
When you met him, do you recall how old he was when you met him?
I think he's around 20 or so.
Now, the person who we're referring to, Aaron Hernandez, do you see Aaron Hernandez seated in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Would you please just point him out and describe an article of clothing he's wearing?
Gray suit with a purple tie.
If the record may reflect the witness that identified the defendant, Aaron Hernandez. Mr. London, how did your relationship with Mr. Hernandez develop after 2010?
We'd frequently see each other. After 2010, he came to not only to district, but to various rumor at the time venue as well. Frequented, depending on which season it was, off season or during the season, a couple of times a week.
Now, calling attention to what you just testified to, off season versus on season. In that time period from 2010 into 2012, what was the frequency of Mr. Hernandez coming to clubs that you were at, those clubs you mentioned? And if so, would it vary by off season and on season?
I would say about twice a week, up to twice a week. I would say.
Off season or on season?
I'd say a little bit more during the off season, but on season I'd see him as well.
When you would see him during the season, would there be certain nights that he would come?
No, if you have memory, based on your personal knowledge, you may testify to that.
On season, definitely Sundays, I recall, which a lot of his other teammates would come as well.
And do you know why the teammates or professional football players would come on Sundays?
Sundays, well, they do.
I'll rephrase the question, Ron. Is there something about Sunday nights, again, just from the perspective of a VIP host, about the types of crowds that are gathered on Sunday nights at Club Cure and other places where you worked?
Sure. So Sundays are industry night, so it is a lot more people that work in the nightlife industry, waitresses, bottle service girls, and a lot of athletes and celebrities. Athletes have Sunday nights off, especially football players. They play the games during Sunday, so they have it. After they play the game, they usually come out during that night, and it's more of an industry atmosphere where industry people have seen, athletes, celebrities before, so they don't get bothered as much, and they enjoy it more, I believe.
And generally speaking, Mr. London, now we're into 2011, getting to 2012. How did the relationship with you and Mr. Hernandez work? In other words, would he contact you before he was coming to a club, or just see you when he got there? How did it work?
Both ways. I mean, there'd be contact, from him, text or something that he's coming down, or he would show up. And I usually stay outside as a VIP host. Most of the time is outside looking for the VIPs, then taking them inside, taking care of them. So I would see him outside and usher him through.
At this time period, Mr. London, again, about 2011, starting to get into 2012, what was the nature of your relationship with Mr. Hernandez at this time? Did you ever develop a friendship beyond business?
There were, text messages. We talk when we get into the club. I remember, one instance I would contact him because Foxwoods had asked if I knew some people from Connecticut. They were doing a showcase on Connecticut athletes and things like that, so contacted about like that. So contacted him, things of that nature, and also when I'd take him into the club, have conversations with him as well.
Did you ever have the opportunity to meet any of his family or close relatives or friends?
I did meet his brother. He introduced me to his brother at venue.
What about his girlfriend or fiance? Did you ever meet her?
I met her once. It was at Rumor, I believe.
Now, sir, calling your attention to the times that you would see Mr. Hernandez inside the clubs, was there one club that he frequented more than any other? Or was it about the same?
I would say at that time period, it would be a lot. I'd say more of rumor and cure as opposed to venue. Venue is on. We do venue on Saturday nights, and especially during the season, Saturday nights would be before most of their football games. So I wouldn't see him as much as venue in the off season. Sometimes he would come to venue.
Mr. London, the times that you saw Mr. Hernandez in venue and cure in that time period, again, 2011 into 2012, who would he generally be present with? Did it vary, or was it usually the same people?
It varied, but there would be a couple consistent people that I would see him with. He'd usually be with one or two others.
And do you know the names or anything identifying about the people you would see him with frequently?
Just based on what I've seen, I've recognized the faces. Yeah.
And what have you seen and recognized as far as a face that you saw him frequently with at the clubs?
Alexander Bradley.
Now, in addition to Alexander Bradley, did you ever see Mr. Hernandez at the clubs with other Patriots teammates?
The Patriots would be there as well, yes.
But what would you see as far as the interactions? Did Mr. Hernandez interact with them or somewhere else?
So
No, overruled.
Go ahead, sir.
Judge, we just have our standing objection based on previous motions.
So noted.
Go ahead, sir.
he wouldn't come in with them, no, but they would. We have the section usually in the back reserved for the Patriots, but he did more of going to the bar and drinking as opposed to over there. But I think he would say hi to them. But
And in those situations, would he be with his own friend or friends?
he would be with his friends when he came into the club, yes.
But he would interact just with the friends more so than. I'll rephrase the question. Now, during the times that you observed Mr. Hernandez inside of the Club Cure and Club Venue and Rumor again, 2011, 2012, did you have the opportunity to personally observe some interactions between Mr. Hernandez and other club goers?
Oh, I have before, yes.
And what observations did you make of his interactions with other club goers?
I mean, there are different instances where I get called into the club to, make sure the VIPs are doing well, or to calm them down if or to take care of a problem, or deal with a bill or something like that they didn't think was right. So I did have some instances where I got called in before to deal with it.
With Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
And can you describe some of those incidents?
I remember at venue once, there was an argument that the security told me to come up to observe and just to kind of try to calm down.
Who did you have to calm down?
Aaron and his friend. Yeah.
The defendant, Mr. Hernandez?
Correct.
And who were they interacting with that was causing them to need to be calmed down?
Just patrons.
Did you ever see people approach Mr. Hernandez, and if so, what his reaction was to being approached?
Yes. I mean, he was, sometimes depending on who it was, he would either say hi or, kind of brush them off. But yeah, I mean, there was no pictures or anything taken like that.
And what about, sir, any observations you made of after games? Did you ever use the term cheers or jeers when you were describing your observations of Mr. Hernandez? Do you recall using that phrase?
Cheers or jeers?
Well, do you recall seeing patrons or...
Sustained.
Do you recall patrons coming to speak to Mr. Hernandez in the clubs after games?
Yes.
And what observations did you make of Mr. Hernandez's reaction to being approached?
He didn't like to be approached. He liked to be, left alone.
Did he voice that to you?
He's told me that before, yeah.
Did you say why he didn't like to be approached or why he wanted to be left alone?
No.
Mr. London, I'm going to first call your attention to a particular night, the night being Sunday, July 15th, 2012, leading into Monday morning, July 16th, 2012. Were you working that night, sir?
Yes.
In what capacity and at what club?
Sunday nights I work at Cure Lounge, and I'm the VIP host, so over there as well.
Mr. London, I'm going to place on a screen what has been entered as exhibit number 56. and we're at a particular shot. For the record, it's camera number 5, and the time is 12:30. Do you recognize anybody in this still, sir?
That's me in the middle of the screen.
In the light colored shirt, at least the light on this particular video?
Correct.
I'm just going to play the video. Just stop it for a minute, just to give some perspective to the jurors if they don't recall. Where are we as far as Cure right now? Are we outside of Cure?
Correct. We're outside of Cure. The door that you can see open is the main entrance to the club.
And the area that I'm pointing to here with my cursor, does that lead towards the front where the ropes are?
Correct.
The video that we're watching now, Mr. London, do you appear to be doing something?
I'm on the phone.
And for the record, I've now stopped at 12:30 and 25 seconds. There appear to be 2 people approaching you. Do you know who those people are?
I recognize Aaron.
Aaron Hernandez?
Correct.
And do you know if this particular night Mr. Hernandez had told you he was coming first, or did he just arrive?
I believe he just arrived.
And for the record, sir, I've now put in exhibit number 269. For the record, we're at 12:30 and 28 seconds. The person coming up to the door in the beard and glasses, who is that?
It's myself.
And the person who is immediately to your right coming in the door is who, sir?
Aaron.
And the person with Aaron, do you recognize him?
Yes, that's his friend Alexander.
Is that the individual you described seeing him with previous?
I have seen him before, yes.
No, can you describe what we just watched? What was the interaction between you, Mr. Hernandez, and Mr. Bradley that night?
I just saw him come in, so I walked him to the door. There is a person who collects the tickets for the cover charge. I just waved them through, said that they were all set to go in.
Did you inquire whether or not they wanted any special treatment, whether it be tables, anything like that?
It doesn't look like I talked to him. I think, he usually didn't get tables, so I probably didn't even ask at that point.
Mr. Leonard, for those who may not know, what do you mean by tables?
So tables, a VIP table. A VIP table is, we have, in Cure, we have 14 VIP tables. And VIP tables, you have your own personal waitress, personal bottle service. So it costs extra to have that. So as opposed to just getting one drink at the bar, you have a personal waitress with a bottle. And, it's, the price is more expensive to have the VIP experience.
Your experience with Mr. Hernandez is that he wouldn't typically do that table service?
No, I don't think that implies the answer. You may answer yes or no.
He did not get table service, no.
Mr. Leonard, I'm just going to play a little bit more of exhibit number 269. What we've just watched at 12:39, is that just another angle of you waving in Mr. Hernandez and Mr. Bradley?
Correct.
Now, the video exhibit 269 now jumps ahead to a time listed as 12:40, which is 12:39:53, approximately 9 minutes later. Do you see the individual now coming up the stairs, or the top of the stairs?
Yes.
And do you recognize those two individuals?
Yes, I do.
Who is that, sir?
It's Aaron and his friend Alexander.
Mr. London, is it fair to state that what we've seen now in the video is advanced now to 12:40 and 33, that Mr. Bradley and Mr. Hernandez are going in a certain direction?
Yes, they're exiting the
They're
club.
leaving the club?
Yes.
And for the record, it's 12:40:39, so about 10 minutes after their arrival. In your experience with Mr. Hernandez at the clubs, particularly Club Cure, would it be unusual for him to leave after only 9 or 10 minutes?
Yes.
He would typically stay longer than that?
Correct.
Now, calling your attention to the rest of that night, Mr. London, did you see Mr. Hernandez and Mr. Bradley the rest of that night?
No, I did not.
Calling your attention now, Mr. London, to sometime at approximately 2:30 in the morning after Club Cure had closed, did you at some point leave the club briefly to go do something?
I went outside to smoke.
When you went outside to smoke at approximately 2:30 in the morning, did you hear anything?
I did. I heard what sounded like gunshots.
Do you recall how many gunshots?
No.
Mr. London, I'm going to call your attention now to other interactions that you had with Mr. Hernandez during this time period. You indicated that you had a friendly relationship with him, is that correct?
Yes.
Was there something that happened around this time period or shortly thereafter that changed your relationship with Mr. Hernandez?
There was.
Please describe that incident.
So the incident was on a Sunday. I had gone down. He was with two people besides himself. And I went down to greet him and downstairs into Cure. And he just, when I went to go greet him, told me to get away.
What did he say exactly? What were his words?
You're a fed, you're a snitch, get away from me. And it just took me by surprise because obviously neither.
Let me stop you there for a minute.
Sure.
So you said you went to greet him. What kind of greeting? I mean,
Just
what were you
to
doing?
shake hands. Is everything cool? Do you need anything?
And the best of your memory, his words were what? And you can swear if...
This has been asked and answered. Just ask the same question 2 or 3 times.
Do you recall the exact words? And you can swear if you need to.
He's like, you're a fucking fed snitch. Get the fuck away from me. Yeah.
What was his tone when he said this?
It was angry.
What about his facial expression or demeanor?
It was just angry. I was just shocked, so I don't remember. I mean, I remember him being angry.
What happened next?
The bouncers came over because they saw me, and I was in shock. His two boys came over to me, and I was trying to explain to him, like, what is he talking about?
Let me stop you there. The two boys that came over to you, did you recognize one of them?
One was Alexander Bradley. I don't remember the other person.
Do you recall whether or not Alexander Bradley, when that interaction first happened, whether or not he did something?
Yeah, he calmed me down. He's like, it's all right. Let me go talk to him. And
Did you see Mr. Bradley do anything to try to calm down the defendant, Aaron Hernandez?
he went over and talked to him, and he said, and Aaron said, just bring him out to the car. So he's like, come for a walk with me.
Before that, did Mr. Bradley tell you what he was going to do when he went to speak to Mr. Hernandez?
He said, I'll talk to him. I'll calm him down. Yeah.
Was Mr. Hernandez at this point agitated?
He was agitated when I saw him. I didn't, remember if he kept being agitated or not.
Once Mr. Bradley returned after trying to calm down Aaron Hernandez, where did you go?
We walked out the exit of the Club Care, and we took a left to go to the parking lot.
Who was it? Who was present?
It was two of his friends that came in there. It was Alexander. I don't know the other person. Yeah.
What happened once you went to the garage?
We went our way now, and on the way to the garage, we were talking about, why would he do this to me? Like, if I was taking care of him, like, I don't understand why he just flipped on me like that. I haven't done anything. I was trying to think of a reason why. There'd be no reason why I do that.
What about Alexander Bradley's demeanor during this conversation with you?
I mean, he was like, don't worry about it. I'll talk to him. Just cool it off. We just walked up to the garage.
What'd you do once you got to the garage?
We walked into the garage on the left. We walked up the ramp. There was a SUV there. He opened the SUV and got like cigar wrappers and blunts. Yeah. And then we walked out of the garage, went back to Cure.
When you went back into Cure, did you approach Mr. Hernandez again, the defendant?
No.
What was your relationship with him like after that?
I mean, I'd have to, when he would come to the club, I would, treat him like he was like a patron or a customer, but I wouldn't really interact with him. Yeah.
Mr. London, as far as putting a time frame for this interaction where you were called a fed or a snitch,
Sure.
Do you recall what the weather was like as far as any clothing that people were wearing?
I just remember his friend had leather jackets on, so I would say, obviously not the summertime, so between fall, winter.
And in relation to the time that you knew and interacted with Mr. Hernandez, was this where did this incident fall in relation to that?
It was towards the end of before this incident. Yeah.
Is it fair to state that you stopped having interactions with Mr. Hernandez sometime in June of 2013?
Yes.
Now, calling your attention now, Mr. London, to one other incident that you observed. Did you observe an incident in February after the Super Bowl? I'm sorry, not February after the Super Bowl. In January of 2013, after the Patriots lost to the Baltimore Ravens. Did you observe an incident?
Yeah, there was an incident at the end of the night, what we call the let out. Probably the lights go on, I believe, at 1:55 in the morning. That's when the patrons leave. Yeah.
And Mr. London, without getting into the particular details of that, did you see Mr. Hernandez have words with somebody you knew?
Yes.
Who was the person that you knew?
Somebody that works in the industry.
The promoter?
Correct.
Did you hear words come out of Mr. Hernandez's mouth to this individual?
There were definitely words exchanged.
What words did you hear come out of Mr. Hernandez's mouth?
When he said, fuck the Ravens. Yeah.
What was it, if anything, that you heard the promoter say to Mr. Hernandez first?
He was just talking about his friend who played for the Ravens that previously played for the Patriots. That mutual friends.
And the tone of this promoter in presenting that to Mr. Hernandez was what, sir?
He was trying to explain to him, he was, I guess, trying to greet him, and explaining, I met you before through so and so.
Was he doing it in anything that you would call a taunting or aggressive way towards Mr. Hernandez?
No.
Was his tone friendly and ordinary?
I'd say ordinary. Yeah.
Mr. Hernandez's reaction, you indicated, was to say the words you explained, correct?
Correct.
What was his demeanor like when he did that?
He was upset. Yeah.
Mr. Hernandez, the defendant, was upset?
Correct.
Did you ever get any answer from Mr. Hernandez as to why he thought you were a fed or a snitch?
No.
What was Mr. Hernandez's demeanor towards you after the fed or snitch incident, Mr. London?
We just didn't really, we didn't really talk at all. He would just, I'd treat him as a customer. He would come in, I'd walk him through.
I've had one more. Thank you, Mr. London. I have no further questions.
Aye.
May it please the court, Mr. Hagan. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Now, you're a VIP host, is that correct?
Correct.
And as part of what you do is you cater to celebrities.
Yes.
In fact, that's a majority of what you do, right?
Correct.
And that helps the business because they come in and spend usually a lot of money.
Sometimes they spend money. Sometimes it's more for the recognition of so and so was at the club or went to one of my nights. Yes.
Right, that's kind of like a celebrity endorsement of a nightclub.
Correct.
So if Leonardo DiCaprio is partying at Cure, more people may want to go and party at Cure, right?
Correct.
Okay. And what celebrities like, including athletes, is their privacy.
Yes. So usually us celebrities when they get there, it's half and half. Some people like to be noticed, and some people like to be private. Yeah.
Okay. But they like their privacy. In fact, that's part of what you do to ensure that they don't get bothered.
Correct.
Okay. Now, I noticed you mentioned that you usually stay outside to usher people in.
Yes, I wait outside usually till the VIPs come. Yes.
And so they're half the time, I guess you're outside, half the time you're inside?
Correct. Yeah. So if
Now, I'm just trying to get a little background.
Sure.
I don't mean to cut you off. So, having said all of that, on July 12, 2016, you weren't inside during the 9 minutes that Aaron was inside, right?
correct.
Okay, so you don't have anything to contribute or to assist this jury in what actually went on inside, right?
No, I don't.
Okay. And outside, you didn't see Aaron again outside later?
No.
Okay, so you can't help this jury understand anything that happened outside that night, right?
Correct.
So, you've been called here to testify about some arguments Aaron's had with you and a couple other people?
I've been asked that. Yes.
Okay, well, that's what you just testified
Yes.
to, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so, I guess to sum up your testimony is Aaron's argued with a promoter friend of yours?
Yes.
Okay. But didn't you tell the police that he actually, well, actually, let me straighten that. Did you tell the police that Aaron didn't treat you well?
I think I might have hit.
Okay. You two don't get along, basically.
Depending on what time. Yeah. You did say that.
So you don't like Aaron. Aaron doesn't like you. In fact, I think you said he was a dickhead to you.
Objection.
Sustained in that form. Break it down, please.
Did you tell the police he was a dickhead to you?
Objection.
No, overruled.
If I use those words, yeah.
Okay. Does that sound like a phrase you would use?
Yes.
Okay. Having said that, you in fact told the police that this promoter friend of you, that Aaron and this promoter friend of yours actually got into a physical altercation, right?
Yes.
In fact, you said you saw him slap this guy, right?
Yes.
But that turned out not to be true, right?
Objection.
Are you aware, sir, that the police went and interviewed this individual who you said Aaron slapped, and he said,
Objection.
I think
Sustained.
Did the police come to you and tell you that this friend of yours, what's his name, Mr. Sarkis?
Mm-hmm.
Sarkis?
Yes.
Denied that ever happened?
Objection.
Sustained.
Would you recognize his voice?
Oh, yes.
George, how do you say his name?
Sarkis.
Okay. May we approach Judge?
You may.
celebrities and athletes, one of the things too that they like to do is usually keep their party private, right? Some of them, as you said?
Correct.
Okay, so if an athlete is married or has a girlfriend, part of what you do too is introduce them to girls, right?
Objection.
No, overruled.
If they want to meet people, yeah, I'll introduce them to people. Yeah, absolutely.
So if a celebrity comes there, and they're there and they want girls, you'll go around to the club and maybe say, hey, would you like to have a drink with Aaron Hernandez or Gronk
Sure.
or something like that?
Sure.
Okay. Now, there's been numerous times where the Patriots have been reported on TMZ as partying at Pure, right?
Objection.
Grounds?
Calls for hearsay. TMZ reporting.
No, overruled.
I've been on TMZ, yes, numerous times.
Okay, numerous times, right?
Yes.
Okay, so and the source of these leaks to TMZ are usually somebody that works in the club, right?
I would assume more if they're there, yeah.
Okay. So if Patriots players are there partying with other girls that aren't their wives or something like that, and it gets out on TMZ, that would be a bad thing for the athlete, right?
Yes, I would assume so.
Okay. And in fact, you voiced some concerns with the police that you didn't want your name to get out because part of your business, I guess, what makes you successful or so good at what you do is that you don't want it getting out that you're speaking about their comings and goings, right?
Usually for I think it was referred to as the home team, yeah. Usually the home teams I don't like to talk about.
But a visiting team, it's okay to...
Absolutely.
That's it. What's that?
Yeah, you got it, yeah.
So it's okay to make a call to TMZ for the visiting team?
I've never called TMZ about a team, no.
Okay.
The
So-
objection is overruled. The answer may stand, Mr. Bias.
Okay. So if the Patriots think that you're snitching on them, they're not going to want to come to you anymore, right?
Objection.
Overruled.
Correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
And in fact, they may tell you, get away from me, you snitch, right?
I don't think they would say that, no.
If a Patriots player is thinking that you're snitching by reporting them to the tabloids,
Yeah.
they would not tell you, get away from me, snitch?
I don't think they would come to that club, is what I think. Or they talk to me. I mean, I've had an ongoing, being in this, almost 15 years, had an ongoing relationship with the Patriots. I hope that somebody would.
But you obviously don't get along with everyone, right?
Correct.
But back to the substance of your testimony again. As it relates to this case and these homicides, you have absolutely no information, right? No firsthand knowledge of any of this.
Correct.
Okay. Now, you testified that Aaron didn't like taking pictures with fans, right? Okay.
Is that yes?
Yes.
I'm sorry for Ms. King, you have to
Sorry.
answer in the affirmative or negative, okay? May I approach the witness?
You may.
I'm showing you Exhibit 302. May I have I'm sorry. Is that a picture of Aaron?
Yes.
Okay. Does he appear to be taking a photograph with possibly a fan?
Yes.
Okay. That would go against what you testified that he doesn't take pictures with fans, right?
Objection.
Overruled.
That would be contrary to what you just testified to.
I thought I said I didn't like taking pictures. I don't know if you said I never took a picture. Yeah.
But you don't know the circumstances of this photograph?
I don't.
As to whether Aaron gave this guy a hard time or didn't, or resisted him in any way?
No, I did not.
I have no further questions.
Just a couple questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Lundy, you were just asked about some questions about the Fed or the snitch comments. You recall those questions, Mr. Baez?
Correct.
Had anybody other than Aaron Hernandez ever called you a Fed before?
No.
And in fact, the comment about snitching and Mr. Baez's questions about Patriots players getting mad at you, potentially calling you a snitch, had any other players other than Aaron Hernandez called you a snitch?
No.
Had any other players interacted with you in the way that you've described Aaron Hernandez did?
No.
And in fact, prior to Aaron Hernandez's reaction you've described where he called you a Fed and a snitch and told you to get the F away from him, had you talked to TMZ or done anything relating to what Mr. Baez just asked you about?
No.
And lastly, Mr. London, you asked by Mr. Baez questions about the number of arguments or altercations that you observed. I believe Mr. Baez just referenced a couple of them. How many arguments, not physical, but actual verbal arguments, have you witnessed Mr. Hernandez having with people in clubs?
Sustained.
Well, calling your attention now to this time frame of 2011 into 2012, other than the two that Mr. Baez mentioned, did you witness any other verbal altercations or verbal arguments between Mr. Hernandez and patrons?
Objection, Judge.
Sustained.
When Mr. Baez said there were only 2 incidents, is that accurate, Mr. London?
Objection.
You may answer that yes or no.
Can you repeat the question?
When Mr. Baez said there were only 2 incidents where you saw Mr. Hernandez in any type of argument with other patrons, is only 2 accurate?
No.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions.
You two don't like each other. Is that a yes?
Yes.
And you have absolutely nothing to tell this jury about the actual case or the incident, right?
Should be on the scope.
Sustained.
Let me rephrase that. You have nothing that you can tell this jury about the homicides, about what you saw that evening.
Objection beyond the scope.
Overruled.
Correct.
No further questions.
Thank you, sir. You may step down, please. Watch your step. Commonwealth.
Commonwealth calls Mack Davis.
Go this way, sir. And we'll spread out the dog, sir.
Stop you first. The clerk, please, right here.
Sir, do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give this court and jury in the issue now pending between the Commonwealth and the defendant at the bar shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you, sir. Kindly follow the officer. Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Lee.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind, could you just introduce yourself to the members of the jury, and if you could please spell your first and your last name?
Mack Davis, M-A-C-K-D-A-V-I-S,
And can you tell us by who you're employed?
with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office in Florida.
And how long have you been with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office?
About 15 years.
And what's your present title, or what role do you play there?
I'm a sergeant, road patrol sergeant.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you've done with the Palm Beach Sheriff County's office from the time you began there to the present?
When I first started, I was a field training officer. Basically, I trained the new guys that came in on the road. And I stayed a field training officer the entire time until I got promoted. Just recently promoted.
So how many years were you a field training officer?
Probably around 23 years. I started as a field training officer with the police department I was with before the sheriff's office took over.
And you said you recently became promoted
Yes.
to your present rank of sheriff?
Of
I mean, not
supervisor.
sheriff, supervisor.
Yeah.
And that was in December of this past year?
Yes, it was.
All right. And what are your...
Like I said, I'm in charge of the road patrol out in our Belglade section. I work the night shift, and I supervise approximately, I would say 20-something guys. I'm not sure.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about the geographical area that the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office covers?
It's very large. It's probably one of the largest, if not the largest county in Florida. It's a mix of agricultural and urban areas. The area I work out west of the county in Belglade, it's mostly agricultural, sugar and cornfields.
And you mentioned Belglade. Is that a city or town in Palm Beach County?
It's a city.
It's a city. Are you familiar with the area of Riviera Beach?
Yes.
Is that also in Palm Beach County?
Yes, sir.
When you were acting as a field training officer, did you have responsibilities other than training new officers? In other words, did you respond to calls?
I had regular road patrol duties, the same as any other deputy on the street. The training aspect was along with my normal duties. But yes, I did respond to Riviera Beach.
And were there cases that you responded to while you were at the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office in which local police departments also responded?
Yes, there were.
All right. And what typically would determine whether the Palm Beach Sheriff County's office was going to take the case versus a local police department?
We normally handled calls in the unincorporated areas of Palm Beach County, outside of city limits, but we oftentimes responded to the cities at their request if they got a major event or something that they couldn't handle or they didn't have the resources to handle.
And so for those of us who don't know, what does it mean to be an unincorporated area?
Anything outside of the city limits. There's a lot of areas within Palm Beach County that are not within the city, and typically most of those areas are covered by the Sheriff's Office.
And during your career with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, what kinds of calls have you responded to?
All kinds. I mean, I've been there for quite a while, so typically when you're in a role as a field training officer, you have to respond to a lot of the priority calls and try to get a mix of every call you can in order to give the new person experience in handling it and train them how to properly handle it.
Want to direct your attention to February 13th of the year 2013. Were you working on that date?
Yes, I was.
All right. And what area were you working out of for the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office?
I was working the Northeast regional area, which covers Riviera Beach, North Palm Beach, and a couple of other little cities in there, including the unincorporated areas.
And what shift or tour were you working at that time?
I believe at that time I was working the morning shift.
And the morning shift goes from when to when?
From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
And were you a uniformed officer at the time?
Yes, I was.
And did you work in a marked police car?
Yes.
When you responded in the marked police car, were you typically by yourself or did you have a partner working with you?
I typically have a trainee with me, but that day I was by myself. I was in between trainees, so I was by myself.
Want to direct your attention now to the period of time a little bit before 7 a.m. Did you receive a call to respond to a particular area in Palm Beach County?
Yes. We got a call of a shooting in the unincorporated Riviera Beach area.
And did you respond to that area?
Yes, I did.
And in particular, where did you go that morning? Could you describe the specific area where you went?
Yeah, it was in the industrial area. The exact incident, I believe, was in an alley or a parking lot behind a business in the industrial area.
And were you familiar with that industrial area from the work that you did in that jurisdiction?
Yes, very familiar.
When you arrived, were you the first, as best you could tell, were you the first law enforcement officer to arrive at the scene?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Can you tell the members of the jury what you remember seeing when you got there?
When I first arrived, I found two men in the alley. believe they were the ones that called, and they pointed me to a male that had apparently been shot. So when I found him, and he was in the parking lot, the rear parking lot, I believe next to a small tree, and halfway between there and the roadway. When I found him, I saw like he had dried blood or something on his face. So I went back to my car and got my tape recorder, because normally our protocol is if somebody's injured to the point where we think they're gonna pass away, then we try to get what we call a dying declaration on tape. So the first thing I did was, after I saw him and assessed what I had, I ran back to my car and grabbed my tape recorder and started asking him what happened.
Okay. Other than the fact that there was a shooting in the radio call that sent you to that area, did you have any information given to you over the radio about the condition of the person that you were going to see?
No, not that I can remember.
Okay. So your decision to get the tape recorder on that particular morning was based on what you personally observed of that person?
Right.
Okay. And you mentioned that he had dried blood on his face. Were you able to determine whether you could see any injuries to his face other than the presence of blood?
No, I couldn't.
When you first came upon this person, strike that. By the way, did you ever learn his name?
I did, but I don't remember what it is right now.
And were the two men who were there waiting for you, did they tell you his name?
Yes, I believe they did.
Okay. When you first saw this this person, where was he? In other words, was he standing? Was he on the ground?
He was laying on the ground, kind of on his side.
And when you got the recorder, what did you do with it?
I turned it on and I started talking to him, trying to find out basically what happened and who shot him.
To your best memory, what did you ask him?
I just repeatedly asked him if, who shot you, what happened, and
did he respond?
He did. He was a little hesitant about responding. It kind of looked like he was like he didn't want to talk to me.
Okay. He seemed somewhat reluctant.
Yes. Yeah.
Despite his reluctance, did he eventually say anything to you?
He did. I asked him who shot him, and he told me it was black males and Hispanic males.
Did he ever say to you anything more than that?
As far as who shot him, no. He just kind of, it seemed like he was kind of brushing me off, just saying, where's the ambulance,
Describe for us how he was in terms of his alertness.
He was very alert.
And the entire time that you were having your interaction with him, did he stay on the ground? Was he on the ground?
Yes, he was.
Now, did you have certain responsibilities as an officer when you come upon a scene with what you suspect might be a serious or life-threatening injury?
Yes. Yeah, part of the responsibility is just cordon off the scene. And I did that with crime scene tape. I have to notify the supervisor what I have so that they can make their notifications.
And when you say notifications, what are you talking about?
If it's a serious incident, such as a homicide or a serious shooting, they have to notify our Violent Crimes Homicide Division. They come out along with crime scene and basically take over the investigation from us.
And that's the role of the supervisor to make that call?
Yes, it is.
All right. And was that what was done that day?
Yes.
By the way, you mentioned that the gentleman told you who had done it. Beyond that, did you ever get from him a narrative of what took place?
No.
At some point, did members of the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office Homicide Unit come to the scene?
Yes, they did.
And did medical personnel come to the scene as well?
Yes.
Once those individuals got to the scene, is it fair to say that you relinquished whatever it is that you were doing to the homicide detectives?
Yes, I did.
And would it be typical of you to participate in witness interviews, for instance, and in those circumstances?
No, we don't typically take witness interviews if homicide's coming out. That's up to them. They do all that.
Would you participate in any of the processing of the crime scene?
No, I don't.
Did members of, does the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office have the equivalent of a crime scene response unit?
Yes, we do.
Do you remember seeing people from that unit come to the scene that morning?
Yes, they did.
How long did you remain at the scene after you first met this individual and then notified your supervisor of the situation?
It was very brief, maybe 5 or 10 minutes after I tried to get the information from him. I made sure that the paramedics were en route and basically just let them know on the radio what I have and make sure the unit's responding along with me, have the information also in case there's somebody outstanding we need to look for. But it was probably about 5 to 10 minutes.
And is that typical for you to leave the scene after that period of time?
Yes.
The recording that you made, what did you do with that?
I placed it in evidence.
Do you know who from the homicide unit of the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office became the case officer for that particular case?
No, I don't remember.
Were you there when the crime scene began to be processed? Not whether you participated, but were you there when it began to be processed?
I don't remember if I was there.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Deputy Sheriff Davis, welcome to Boston.
Thanks.
We're all wondering why you neglected to bring Florida weather here with you. Assume that's an oversight.
Yeah. Won't happen again.
Good. Well, we'll have to recall you then.
Okay.
Just a couple of questions. So first, did I understand you right that you did not have anything to do with the crime scene, putting up the crime scene?
I did. I put up the crime scene tape and cordoned off the area.
And that's before the crime scene investigators got there?
Right.
All right. Now, when you first got the call, how long did it take you to get to the scene?
I don't know. Our typical response time, I think I was already in the area, so it wasn't that long, maybe 2 or 3 minutes.
Does 5 sound about correct?
Yeah, probably about correct.
And it's fair to say that before you got to the scene, you don't know what the individual was doing or where the individual was.
No, I don't.
With respect to what you heard the individual on the ground say, you asked several times who shot him, and he stated that he did not know, right?
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right, correct.
And in the course of your investigation, you learned that the person who you saw on the ground told several other people he did not know who shot him, correct?
Objection. Sustained in that form.
You keep what you call a log, an investigation log, correct?
No, I don't.
What do you call your reports?
Offense report.
All right, offense report, and I'm going to ask you some questions about the offense report in a second, but when you first got there, did any of the witnesses advise you that the person whom you saw on the ground
Objection.
had been walking around for 5 minutes?
Objection. I'll see you at sidebar.
After you arrived to the scene, you had the opportunity to speak to a couple witnesses at the scene, correct?
Correct.
One was Mr. Riddle,
Yes,
and one was Mr. Mingle.
I believe so, yes.
And in speaking with them, did either of them advise you that the man on the ground had been walking around for 5 minutes?
No.
It's fair to say that in the course of your investigation, in the course of putting together the offense report, you did not come across any information where the person on the ground said that he knew who had shot him.
No.
One second. All right, just a couple other questions, and then we'll let you enjoy beautiful, beautiful weather outside. So I spoke to you about, do you have in mind the question I asked you with respect to whether Mr. Riddle or Mr. Mingle told you that the individual had been walking around?
I'm sorry, say again?
You recall the question I asked you with respect to whether either of the witnesses told you that the victim of the gunshot had been walking around for 5 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Right, and you said you were not aware of that, right?
Right.
So when you got there, you saw the person on the ground, correct?
Yes.
And you put up tape around that general area,
Right.
did you go and look for any cars by chance?
No.
Did you, how did you decide what area to cordon off?
We typically just cordon off the entire, if it's like a parking lot, we cordon off the entire area. We just determine it based on what we have when we're on scene.
But in this case, what did you decide to do? To the best of your memory.
I believe I cordoned off the back parking lot and maybe part of the street. I'm not sure exactly what areas I did.
And your decision was based then on what you saw with the individual on the ground, right?
Right.
And where the individual was at that time, right?
Where he was and the area he's in, just in case there's evidence laying around somewhere.
And as a seasoned investigator, if you...
Objection to the floor. No, overruled.
If you had been advised that the individual was in other areas, would that have informed how you would have cordoned off the scene?
Objection. Overruled.
If he was in other areas and there was any evidence located in those areas, to my knowledge, then yes, I most likely would have cordoned it off.
Because you were not had no information that the individual was in other areas, it's fair to say that you weren't looking in other areas for evidence, right?
Objection.
Overruled.
Judge, she wasn't looking for evidence.
Overruled.
In other words, you couldn't look at a place you didn't know existed, right?
I'm sorry.
In other words, you couldn't look for areas that you didn't know had any relationship or significance to this case.
Right, if I believe that there was no significance to it, then I wouldn't cordon off the area. But we normally look around our immediate area. This happened kind of quick, so I don't remember exactly what area that I saw. Like I said, it was just based on what I saw immediately when I arrived on scene. So.
Very well. No further questions.
Mr. Lee, anything further?
One question, Brian.
Showing you what's been received as exhibit number 316A. Do you recognize that part of the parking lot or the area where you responded to on the morning of February 13th?
Yes.
Okay, and do you see the yellow caution tape?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and do you know whether you were the one that put that tape up?
I am not sure.
Okay. You'd agree with me, though, that that tape goes all the way out onto the roadway. In other words, inside of that would be almost the entire parking lot.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
You would also agree that that tape does not cover an alleyway that's not pictured in what Mr. Lee just showed you, correct?
I don't remember.
I can show you a picture here. So I'm showing you what's been previously marked as 307A. Now, in an area that's not pictured in that's supposed to be an arrow in that direction. Okay. As you are looking at the screen, the mark is supposed to indicate an arrow here. Yeah, there we go. That's a little better. All right.
No, that's good.
So I went to law school, not art school. So bear with me. That area is not covered. Would not have been roped off, correct? As best as you can remember.
I don't remember because I don't know what that building is, so I'm not even sure.
So orienting yourself, do you recognize what this is?
No, I don't. To be honest with you, no.
Okay. But you don't see any crime scene tape in this photo, right?
I don't believe there's any in here.
No further questions.
Thank you, sir. You may step down, please. Watch your step.
Commonwealth calls Deontay Thompson.
Testimony shall be of this court and jury, and the issue now pending between the Commonwealth and the defendant at the bar shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, help you God? Thank you, sir. Kindly follow the officer.
Watch step house. Thank you. How you doing?
Mr. Lee.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind, could you just introduce yourself to the members of the jury, and if you would please spell your first and your last name?
Deontay Thompson, Deonte Thompson.
And Mr. Thompson, can you tell us how old you are, sir?
28,
And what do you do for work?
professional athlete.
And in what sport are you a professional athlete?
NFL, football,
All right. And are you on a particular team right now?
Chicago.
Okay. How long have you been with the Bears?
It'll be my third season.
Third season.
Yeah.
And how long have you been in the league?
It'll be my sixth.
6 year. Where were you, or what team were you with prior to joining the Bears?
Baltimore.
All right. Now, where did you play football collegiately?
University of Florida.
And can you tell the members of the jury what years you played at Florida?
2007 to 11.
To 2011?
Yeah.
And during the time that you played at the University of Florida, did you come to know an individual by the name of Aaron Hernandez?
Yes.
All right. And did Mr. Hernandez play football with you at Florida?
Yes.
Do you see Mr. Hernandez in the courtroom today?
Yes.
If you wouldn't mind, could you just point to him and indicate an article of clothing that he's wearing so we know who you're talking about?
Purple tux with the purple inside.
Sitting at the counsel's table to my left?
Yes.
Okay, indicating the defendant for the record, Your Honor. When did you, was Mr. Hernandez in the same class as you were? Did he come to the University of Florida in 2007 as well?
Yes.
All right. How would you describe your relationship with Mr. Hernandez while you were both teammates at Florida?
I mean, we came in together, so our whole class pretty much tight. I mean, that's my guy. I mean, played ball together. We was in the war together. I mean, not actual war, but football in the game. I mean, like a brother.
And how much of your free time was spent with other members of the football team?
I mean, a lot of it. I mean, we always together. I mean, the team is like a fraternity, so pretty much hang with the whole team.
And was Mr. Hernandez one of the people that you hung around at all with?
Oh, yeah. He's one of the guys I hung around.
Now, you played all 4 years at Florida?
Yes.
All right. And did Mr. Hernandez play all 4 years at Florida?
No.
Okay. When did?
The exact year, I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you remember what year he was? Whether he was a sophomore, junior, senior?
Yeah, he had to be a junior.
Junior.
Yeah.
So you played 1 year at Florida without Mr. Hernandez. Is that fair to say? He left as a junior. You continued on to your senior
I
season.
redshirted too, though. So.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, after Mr. Hernandez left the Florida football team, did he enter in the draft as far as you know?
Yes.
And once he became eligible for the draft and later on drafted, did you and he maintain contact or keep in touch in a consistent way at all?
Why I remained in college?
Right, while you were in college and after he left?
Nah, not really, not much, not at all, really.
And then you eventually, were you drafted by the Ravens?
No, free agent.
Now, in 2013, were you playing for the Ravens?
Yes.
Okay, and that's the year they won the Super Bowl, is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Where was the Super Bowl played that year?
Louisiana, New Orleans.
And after the game, do you remember where you were?
Bourbon Street.
All right.
Yeah.
And celebrating the win?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. While you were on Bourbon Street after the game, did you see Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Okay. And did you have a conversation with him?
Yes.
Can you tell the members of the jury what you guys talked about?
We just catching up. I ain't seen him in a year or so, and we just catching up, man. Just old friends catching up, pretty much.
And at some point, did you mention to him a party that you were planning on having?
Yes.
And where was that party going to be?
Back in Florida, back in my hometown.
So you grew up in Florida?
Yeah.
What part of Florida did you grow up in?
Belgrade.
And is Belgrade in Palm Beach County?
Yes.
How big a town, is Belgrade a city or a town?
It's a town.
Town. How big a town is that?
I mean, population of maybe 20,000, if that.
And when you mentioned to Mr. Hernandez that you were planning on throwing a party back in Belglade, what did you say to him about the party?
I just mentioned it to him that I was having a party down there, and if you in Miami, you should come through, or if you down in Florida, come by.
And what did he say to you, as best you can remember?
I can't even. I don't remember exact words, but I mean, something along the line is, well, then I think he just said, I'll let you know. We didn't even decide for sure then if he was coming or not. I don't know.
Okay, so you just basically let him know you were having a party.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember what the date of the Super Bowl was?
February 3rd.
Okay, and that obviously was a Sunday?
Yeah, Sunday.
And do you remember when the party that you threw in Belglade, when did that take place?
We just said the 9th?
Okay.
8th of the night, I'm not sure. 8th.
Okay. And did you have some flyers made up for the party?
Yes.
May I first witness?
You may.
Mr. Thompson, do you recognize that?
Yes.
Okay, and what's that?
It's a flyer.
Okay, and did you arrange to have have that flyer made up for the party that you were throwing?
Well, I didn't arrange for it to get made, but yeah.
Well, are you familiar with the
I'm
flyer?
familiar with the flyer, yeah.
Okay, and the flyer has the date on it?
Yep, February 8th, Friday.
Okay, and the place where it's going to be?
Yes.
And it has pictures of two individuals, correct?
Yes.
And who are those people?
Me and a teammate of mine.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time I'd offer that as the next numbered exhibit.
Without objection, that is received.
Showing you what's been admitted as exhibit number 318. You mentioned there was a second person shown in that picture, and is that the person on the left named Pernell McPhee?
Yes.
And did Mr. McPhee have any connection to Belglade?
He's from Pahokee.
Pahokee?
Yeah.
For the record, that's P-A-H-O-K-E-E. And where is Pahokee in relation to Belglade?
It's like a couple miles up the road, another small town.
Did you know Mr. McPhee before joining the Ravens?
Yes.
Okay, and how long had you known Mr. McPhee for?
I mean, it's two small towns, like rival towns. We know everybody, man. It's a country town. I mean, if you're from a country area, you know everybody, know everybody.
From growing up when you were kids?
Growing up.
On the morning of February 8th, that is the morning of this party, did you rent a hotel room in the area of West Palm or Palm Beach?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember the name of the hotel where you rented the room?
I don't remember the name. I don't remember what exact hotel it was.
Do you remember where it was located?
Yeah, it was off 45th, over that way somewhere.
45th Street?
Yeah,
all
West
right.
Palm.
And do you know how many rooms you rented out?
I'm in one room.
Okay. And just to be clear, the party wasn't at the hotel. The party was at some other place, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And on February 8th, before the party started, do you remember having any contact or communication with Mr. Hernandez?
To be quite frank, I really don't even, that day, man, like I was guys just won a Super Bowl. I really don't recall that day as in detail as far as did I talk to him or not, so.
Okay. Do you remember when you were down, now you were no longer living in Florida at the time, correct? You were living up
in Maryland.
In Maryland,
yes.
okay. do you remember renting a car for the time that you were down in Florida?
Yes.
And what kind of car did you rent?
It was a Porsche.
And do you remember whether it was a sedan or an SUV?
Sedan.
The party on the 8th was to be held at a place called Club 21. Is that correct?
Yes.
And who was invited to this party?
Everybody.
Everybody.
It was a free party.
It was a free
I
party.
mean, it was for our community. Me and him. I mean, we just put the two times together. It was free for everybody. So everybody just came out.
All right. And did you know an individual by the name of Max Brown?
Yes.
All right. And how do you know Max Brown?
He's a friend of mine, childhood friend of mine.
Childhood friend?
Yeah.
Was Mr. Brown from Belgrade as well?
Yes.
Did you play football with Mr. Brown?
In high school.
In high school.
Yeah.
Did you know an individual by the name of Tyrone Crawford?
I know he from Belgrade. I know him.
All right. And how would you describe your relationship with Mr. Crawford, if any?
He grew up in the same community as me. I know him.
All right. Is he somebody that you played football with?
I don't think he ever played football.
What about an individual by the name of Jarrell Pierre? Do you know Mr. Pierre?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And how did you know Mr.
Yes.
Pierre?
Same way. He from Belgrade.
All right.
In Belgrade, no.
Is that somebody that you knew from going back to when you were a kid?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did Mr. Pierre ever visit you in Gainesville, where the University of Florida was, during the time that you were a student there?
Yeah, I mean, he actually grew with me. He came up to games and stuff. I mean, a lot of my friends came up to games and hung out.
So they would come watch you play?
Yeah.
All right, and Mr. Pierre came up to do the same?
Yeah, he had came before.
Do you remember, just roughly speaking, about how many times Mr. Pierre went to see you play at Florida?
I have no idea.
Okay. Now, other than yourself, do you have any memory of whether Mr. Crawford, Mr. Pierre, or Mr. Brown were staying at the hotel that you rented for the party?
Which night you referring to? The night after the party?
Well, we'll start with the night of the party, February 8th. Do you remember whether any of those individuals were staying at the same hotel?
I don't even think I went back. I mean, I really don't recall. We was gone, man. We were talking about kids, 21, 22. We was drinking. Okay. I mean, I really don't even remember, but I didn't stay back at the hotel that night, so I don't know who was in the hotel. I can't say who was there, put a finger on it, yeah.
As far as the party's concerned, that was at Club 21, and do you remember seeing Mr. Crawford or Mr. Pierre at the party?
I'm pretty sure that, I mean, if he was in town, he was at that party. It was a pretty big party, so if they was in town, everybody was there. I mean, I don't know. I was hosting, so it's kind of hard for me to really be having conversation with people, and I was just trying to move around and talk to everybody, so.
Okay. At a minimum, though, would it be fair to say that they were on the invite list?
Definitely. I mean, yeah, everybody invited.
And what about Mr. Hernandez? Did you see Mr. Hernandez at the party?
Yeah, we spoke for a brief second.
At the time you saw Mr. Hernandez at the party on the 8th, did you see him with anyone that you remember?
Man, it was a group of guys, man. It was a lot of us. Even when people, he knows some of my friends too, just from Gainesville, so it was a big old crowd. You know, it was a whole bunch of guys, man, and there's no one specifically that stick out to me that he introduced or something like that to me, no. Not that I can recall of.
Okay. Did you or do you have a nephew named Daryl Roberts?
Yes, I had.
Okay, and Mr. Roberts, does he have a nickname?
Black.
Okay. Was Mr. Roberts at the party that you can remember?
I mean, it's fair to say, like I said, if he was in town, he was there. So, yeah, pretty sure he was there.
Okay. Did you know an individual who went by the nickname Soldier or Sojour?
No idea what that is.
I want to talk now a little bit about the party itself. Do you remember when the party sort of wrapped up and ended?
I mean, it probably ended around 4.
Okay.
4-ish.
And you said that this period of time after the Super Bowl, you were partying pretty heavily with your friends and just basically celebrating the win. Is that fair to say?
Most definitely.
Okay. After the party, after the night of the party, did there come a time when you and some other folks went down to Miami?
Yeah. We went down a few nights. There was a lot of us going down. I mean, we was going down every night.
And did you see, did Mr. Hernandez go, was he among the people that went with you to Miami?
Yeah.
Was Mr. Crawford among the group that went to Miami?
I think he did.
Okay.
I think he did.
And was Mr. Pierre among the group that went down to Miami?
Could be. I'm not sure.
Is there something that, okay, and was your nephew Black or Mr. Roberts, was he down in Miami when you went?
He came one night with us. I remember particularly. And my nephew is no longer with us. He passed away. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I did not know that. I apologize. At some point while you were in the Miami area, did you and a number of people end up going to Tootsie's Cabaret?
Yes.
Okay. And let's just so we can sort of set ourselves with the date. You have a February birthday, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what's your birth date?
February 14th.
Now, at some point in celebration of your birthday, did your significant other or girlfriend come to see you in Florida?
Yes.
And when she came to see you in Florida, was that for your birthday?
Yes.
Do you remember when that was when she came to Florida to see you?
Sometime before my birthday.
All right.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that it was in that time frame between the 8th and your birthday?
Yes.
All right. Once she came down to see you for your birthday, did you then stop hanging around or hanging out with the other guys?
Yeah, I went with her. I picked her up and went with her, and that was it for me.
Okay. And up until the time you started hanging out with her, you mentioned that there was a trip to Tootsie's Cabaret. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And during the time that you were in Miami, sometime between the 8th and when your girlfriend came to visit you, was that the only trip that you remember taking to Tootsie's?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure actually. I mean, it's kind of blur. I mean, those days all stack up.
Okay.
Seriously. I mean, we were just everyday partying, so it's kind of stacking up to me.
And as far as your girlfriend's arrival to Florida to see you, was that before your actual birth date?
Yeah, I would say it was before my birthday. Yeah.
With respect to your trip to Tootsie's Cabaret, do you remember seeing Mr. Hernandez at Tootsie's the night that you went to Tootsie's?
Yeah, it was a group of us who went there. I mean, it was about 4 or 5 cars, man. I mean, he had guys with him, I had guys with me. So, I mean, we just went in there, strip club.
4 or 5 cars, how many people would you say was in the group that went to Tootsie's?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Would you say it was more than 10?
Could be.
All right.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Do you remember whether you were one of the people who drove to Tootsie's? I guess what I'm getting at is, do you remember driving the Porsche that you had rented that night to
I was
Tootsie's?
I'm in the Porsche, yeah.
So you were in the car?
I don't remember who drove I don't even remember who was in the car with me, to be honest with you.
Do you remember the car making the trip?
Yeah, I remember going to Tootsie's, though.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Lee, why don't we take our morning recess now? We'll resume at 10 minutes of 12. Where is the